Hey there guys, this is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Tasuke, and with the second season of the new Berserk anime going on, I think it's actually getting close to wrapping up, but it's still going on, I believe, and I figured now would be a good time to review the latest Berserk game, Berserk in the Band of the Hawk, otherwise known as Berserk Muso. And I know I said the latest Berserk game, even though in total there have only been three, so I guess you could say, like, not even just the latest, just the new one, you know. And we don't even know if we're going to get a sequel for it. I think we could maybe get one, maybe down the line. But, yeah, I'm going to give this little bad boy a review. Kind of took my time with it, but I finished it recently. And, yeah, review time. So, I played this on PS4, as you can probably tell by one, the image in the beginning, and two, any sort of like little button prompts that you can see in the corner and whatnot. But I know this game is also for PC in North America. I think in Japan it was also released on PS3. I don't remember if it was, because I think it was released around the time when they were still putting these games on like PS3 and then also PS4. I know now at this point they've stopped that. But in North America, it was only released on PS4, and we got a PC port as well. And I got the PS4 version because I wanted to play it on the console. Actually, I just checked as well because I had to take a quick pause. But according to Wikipedia, the game was also released for PS3 in Japan. It'd be interesting to see kind of what the differences were. I might look up a video after I'm recording this. But yeah, this is basically a Dynasty Warriors styled Berserk game set in the universe of Berserk. And honestly, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. There were little things that I didn't like about it, and just one thing that I feel like they didn't really use properly, but we'll get into that as we go. In terms of story, it more or less follows the same story that we know of Berserk. You could even maybe say it's a little closer to the manga. In fact, later on when we get to like the Millennium Falcon arc, which they call the Hawk of the Millennium Empire in this game. They don't refer to it as a falcon. I don't know if there's some sort of like translation issue. I've been wondering like if in the Japanese version Griffith was always intended to be a falcon instead of a hawk. I'm not sure, because I find it weird that like they refer to the whole, because the Hawk of the Millennium Empire, they're referring to the new Griffith, but in the manga, I'm pretty sure they refer to it as the Millennium Falcon, and I think it's even written as Falcon in like katakana or something. But anyway, when I got to that point, I noticed that there was actually some lines of dialogue that seemed to come straight out of the manga, because I have been reading the manga again as I'm recording this at like the beginnings of like May 24th at 12 in the morning. I'm on volume 34, I believe, and the script pretty much follows what I've been reading in the manga so far. And I actually just checked, I'm on 34. I had to like look up an image on Google to make sure I was on the right one. I just finished 33, so I'm around the boat area. But yeah, this game more or less follows the same story. There are some differences, like in the beginning, and they don't start you off in the Black Swordsman arc like they do in the manga and in the first TV anime. They start you off with some sort of like dream sequence, which then goes into one of the opening scenes of the movie. They show a lot of clips from the movie. This game is Japanese voiceover only. There's no English dub, so it plays the Japanese clips of the movie, and I think they even retranslated those scenes. It has a slightly different script from what I remember, or maybe I'm just confusing the dub script of the movie with this script, but it does seem a little different. I don't know if they use the exact scenes as they are. I kind of got the impression that they maybe got the voice actors back to redo the lines, which, I mean, they have them all there anyway. It's the movie cast, so Takahiro Sakurai's Griffith and whatnot, and the same guy as Guts. I think his name is Hiroaki Iwanaga, I think, or something like that. He's a tokusatsu, a voiceover actor, I believe. I think this is actually his only anime role, or at least his first, if I'm not mistaken. But they show, for all the Golden Age stuff, they show the as many clips of the movies as they can. And then after they do that and go through the up to like the Black Swordsman and Conviction and whatnot, they start showing like pre-rendered cutscenes in the game engine, which I guess is probably for the best since the new anime has had sort of a pretty poor reception based on its style. But you know, in terms of what's different besides the scene, like the opening scene where like Guts is sort of in like that eclipse place, and then it opens up into the opening scene of Guts waking up in like the first movie. At the ending, I think is maybe a little bit different because it ends with them all getting on the boat and going off, which like realistically is probably as far as they could have gone, just because, you know, it's sort of a bit of a meme that they haven't gotten off the fucking boat. I think they just got off the boat. In fact, I think they're actually in Elfhelm now, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't gotten up to like the latest chapters. In fact, I think Volume 38 is supposed to be coming out in July in English or something. So it's coming soon, but I'm going to try and catch up with Berserk, and I'm going to try and watch the new season as well. So I guess you could say I'm in a bit of a Berserk mode to an extent. So yeah, I think that final scene is a little bit different, just to kind of make it a little bit more conclusive from the standpoint of like, oh, this is the end of the game. Roderick didn't show up, and I don't think there was another character. There are a couple other characters that didn't show up, I believe. One thing that's different from both anime versions, as in the first anime series and the movies, they include actually a mini arc from the manga. I say mini arc, it's not even really long enough to be considered arc, but basically it's when Guts and the gang are rescuing Griffith from Windhelm and trying to escape after he's been like tortured and like basically just tormented and like physically and mentally destroyed. In the manga, while they're running away, there's this dog-like donkey guy. I think his name is Wyald or something. It's spelled W-Y-A-L-D. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it was in the manga, and he's like this weird sort of like dog-looking big guy. As per Berserk, there is a rape scene involved with this character, which is actually kind of sad because it's with a female character who just like was trying to help the good guys, and then she goes off and gets like kidnapped by the by a Wyald and his crew. I think they're called like the Black Dogs or something. They're like a group of mercenaries, I believe, and he's an apostle, and you could kind of take it to be kind of foreshadowing. I'm now going into like the symbolism and the deep meanings of Berserk. See, this is what happens when I start talking about Berserk. I did a presentation on Griffith in college, so you can say I probably have spent a little bit too much time thinking about this story. But yeah, it's kind of like foreshadowing of what's going to happen with Griffith, because after they defeat him and from like his monster form, like they show like what he looks like now, and he's like this really old, like weak, decrepit, really thin, kind of like starved prisoner kind of look, which is what Griffith looks like right now. But in the game they don't go that far. He's basically just like a big boss fight. That level in particular, and the music that played in that level, that was actually kind of spooky, because like the music, it's like typical, like, you know, Berserk game fare. From what I understand, Susumu Hirasawa didn't do any of the soundtrack. I think it was they probably got some musician to like try to emulate his sound, or it could have been. I'd have to look back at the credits again, or maybe just look it up or something. But I'm pretty sure it's someone new. I don't even think it's the guy who did the movies and the new anime. I think it's someone new. But there's like this distorted like choir that plays at a certain part of the song, and it sounds really kind of eerie and creepy. And I got to a point, and I do this with a lot of the Warriors games just because it's mostly action with not a lot of like downtime. Plus the voices were in Japanese anyway. and I'm already familiar with the voices. But I basically got to a point to where like I was playing the game while like listening to a podcast or something. Um, I only had one headphone in, so I could still at least hear the voiceover because even though it was in Japanese and I know what these characters sound like, I still wanted to at least hear the performance a little bit. And I wanted to be able to hear it loud enough to where it would actually matter. But I kept it to where both weren't really like drowning each other out. But while I was listening, and there would be times where I would just kind of pause and like watch whatever it was I was watching because it would take a little bit more of my focus to watch. But I would hear like this choir in the background as well. And it was kind of eerie. And it even got to a point where I would pause the video and just like listen to like the song, take my headphones off and listen to the song, even turn up the TV a little bit. It was kind of eerie, and also that mission's a little eerie because one, Weall is a very scary looking creature, and also even in the manga, like when I first saw him, just like, wow, that guy looks really kind of like, he almost looks like a weird donkey dog thing, like a humanoid donkey with like that long face and everything. But like that mission, that level involves you trying to like kind of run away from him and also try to like block his path so you can't get to him. Obviously you have to end up fighting him, and you fight him several times, which, you know, I mustered up the courage. I was really scared. No. But his monster form, that was pretty tough. In terms of regular difficulty, since I'm talking about the toughness of the enemies, the game's difficulty was pretty standard. I played it on normal. The only real tough fights I feel were that was a pretty tough fight. Both fights with Nosferatu Zod, those were pretty tough, especially the second one where you fight him in the snowfield. I almost lost that one. I actually lost it once, and then I had to fight him again, and I almost lost that time. I got to a point to where when you're low on health, you've got this thing where like your little Muzo gauge, for lack of any other term, will go up automatically, and I had to rely on that. And get like my death blow gauge up so I could do my Muzo attack, which I guess can lead me into the battle system. Overall, the game wasn't really too difficult, but those were a few moments. I think even the final boss with Ganishka, I think his name is, who's like that giant thunder god looking thing, who in the manga basically turns into the embodiment of hell, from where I'm at. But gameplay, if you're going to compare it to any other Warriors game, like, is this Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors? I'd say this is probably more like Samurai Warriors, because at least in regards to guts, because I really only played his guts. I played his judo a little bit, and I played his Serpico in like the free mode, but I mainly played his guts. When you do like the power attack, the regular power attack without a combo, it'll dash forward a little bit, kind of like what Samurai Warriors has been doing lately from 4 onward. And for the Muzo attack, it's like Samurai Warriors, to where like you have like a hyper mode that you go into, and then like afterwards you can do your Muzo attack. It's different in that instead of like a set combo you have to get a gauge up in this form, and then when you do that, you can press circle again to do your Muzo attack, which for guts, which is like a basic slash. Depending on what costume you were using, he would do like different modes. With his Black Swordsman Onward costume, he would do like this weird like crossing of his arms and then do like a horizontal spin slash. Whereas his Golden Age costumes, he would do like a shoulder like shift thing, and then like he would like do like a jumping downward slash, I believe. I think I'd have to look back again. It's been a while since I had played that version, because I'm kind of used to Black Swordsman Onward and whatnot. Once you get the Berserk armor, you can use that by pressing, I think it's R1 or R2. I think it might be R2 or maybe even R1, I think. After you get your hyper mode, I don't remember what it's called. We'll just say your Muzo gauge up, and then you have like your death. I think it's called like the death gauge or the death blow gauge, like the gauge that actually lets you do your special attack, like your Muzo attack. Once that's full, if you press the button, you can go into the Berserk armor, which is just freaking broken. It destroys things like nobody's business. I used it a lot once I unlocked it, just because it was really useful in killing bosses really quickly, especially Grunbeld when it's introduced. Like, I destroyed him really easily with that armor. I think at that point they even make you keep it. Obviously, if you use it afterwards, it can run out. And it's usually after you run out of gauge, then you go back to normal. But then like you can get the gauge back up and then go back into it. But it's almost like some Mega Man Zero and like just Zero in general stuff, because like he does like the spinning horizontal slash, and he goes for like almost like he's doing like a weird homing attack thing from Sonic. It's really fun to play as that form. Guts in general, he's pretty slow as you would probably expect. I kind of got used to it, and I got it to a point where he was a little faster because of the equipment I was using, I think. And of course, once you get your gauge up to max and you go into the mode, he'll like attack really fast. In terms of his movement speed, it was okay once he got into his running mode, because like, you know, it's like in Hyrule Warriors and whatnot, where after you run for a little bit, he'll start to sprint, and he'll go pretty far that way. And you could also get a horse. And I think they actually give you Lu Bu's horse as like a little tie-in, I think. I'm not sure. Like getting on the horse, that helped a lot as well. Otherwise, I would just run everywhere. Although he was slow, he was pretty fun to play as, and he was actually the only character I would play as. So, instead of jumping, they give you like this dash that you can do, which was a little frustrating because I like jumping in my games. I'm actually playing through a Spirit of Sonata, and I'm been happy to be able to jump in that game, but yeah, that's besides the point. So, and after you dash, if you hold down the X button, it'll take you into the run. Or I think after you dash and you keep running, I think it'll take you into the run. I'll have to experiment when I record the gameplay footage and see for myself. But yeah, gameplay pretty dope. The only other characters I played as were Judo and Serpico. Both of them were pretty quick. Judo obviously being the faster one because he had the 2 daggers, and of course he's like a fast character anyway. Serpico was pretty fun to play as well. Not as much as Judo. Judo was just really quick. I didn't play as Griffith. I imagined he would probably be pretty quick as well. I imagine every character besides Guts and Zod are pretty fast. I don't think I have all the characters because I think I remember them saying that like we all would be playable, and like I think a lot of the characters you fight and see are actually playable. Like I only have Guts, Judo, Griffith, Casca, Zod, Serpico, and Shirk, the witch chick. I only have them. I don't have any other characters, and they even teased me a little bit during the Conviction and also the Hawk of the Millennium Empire arc, where they would show me, because they show you the character roster whenever you pick your character for story mode, but like they limit who you can use depending on like the situation. Like it was usually just Guts, but they would let you look at the characters as well, and they always showed Griffith and Zod in like their in their new forms. I'm thinking like, oh, so I'm gonna get those at some point. Nope, haven't gotten them. So that was unfortunate. I guess I probably need to do more stuff. I don't know. Or like, someone in the comments let me know, I guess. I don't know. Music was fine as well. It was pretty cool, I guess. It sounded like Berserk to me. You know, pretty nice. Again, I don't remember who actually composed the music. I don't think it was Susumu Hirasawa. Though I do feel like that for the opening, they really missed an opportunity to use either the new version of Forces or Hayo, or just make a new song with Susumu Hirasawa. I think it really would have been perfect if they had used, like, Forces or something, because I feel like so many Berserk fans associate Susumu Hirasawa's music, particularly Guts' theme for one thing, and Forces, as basically the anthems of the Berserk series. And his song Aria for the movies was also pretty good. And Hayo is also pretty good, I think. Or even get like 9mm Parabellum Bolt or whatever they're called to do the theme song. That would have been cool. But instead it's like some CGI cutscene with some sound effects. So it's more like just like an opening movie rather than like an intro to like an anime or something with no cool song or anything. But I don't know. It's alright, but I do feel like they kind of miss an opportunity there. I think they probably should have tried to do something a little extra there. Trying to think of what else I can talk about. I wasn't really expecting this review to be too long. I mean, it's getting we're getting close to the 20-minute mark, so that's pretty. I think that's a pretty good length. Oh yeah, the story, it felt pretty long for from what I'm used to with these games. One problem with the Dynasty Warriors game, and I think this is that a lot of people probably feel this way, and that's probably part of the reason why people don't really like the Dynasty Warriors games that much, but it can get kind of monotonous and sort of tiring after a while, especially if you're like me, where the next couple of games you're going to be playing are Dynasty Warriors games, because like I said, I'm playing Samurai Warriors Spirit of Sonata right now, which I got today. And I have Dragon Quest Heroes 2 on the back burner as well, and Fate Extella at some point. I'm going to wait until I finish Fate Extra first, but anyway, the story felt kind of long. I was expecting them to end it after Guts gets the Berserk armor. I wasn't really expecting them to get to the boat. I'm a little surprised they did. I'm glad they stopped it where they did, because like I said, logically they can't really go any further just because the story hasn't gone further. At least not very far. They probably could have done some stuff where you focus on Griffith a little bit, but at the same time it's like it would have been filler and fluff. They even did a little bit of some fluff here as well in the game. Like for the Black Swordsman arc, they have some where it's like Guts is just like going through killing apostles and wrecking shit up and like helping people. That's sort of like the Black Swordsman sort of get back into the main course of the story pre-conviction arc storyline. They don't do like the Lost Children arc as far as I could tell, because honestly it's been so long since I've read that arc, but as far as I could tell, they don't really go into it. I guess maybe they feel like it's not really that important, because I noticed the new anime didn't really do it either. At least here we kind of get a little bit of like an in-between kind of thing, though. I feel like I'm kind of at a point with the Berserk series to where I can, since I know the story well, enough to kind of gauge where I'm at and how far I think a game or a certain kind of medium will be based on what's going on in the story. Kind of like I can do with Dragon Ball, or at least Dragon Ball Z. I feel like I'm not entirely big enough to just be able to like pinpoint like, okay, the game's going to be like this long. Because honestly, like I said, I was expecting it to end after Guts gets the Berserker armor, and mainly just because the PS2 game, which was the latest Berserk game at the time, they ended it there. Here, like after that Grinheld fight and the whole like troll thing, the next thing they do is like the thing where they're trying to get a boat, and Farnese is all like, I know what I can do. She goes off, and then Serpico's like, oh, we're leaving the group, bye. And then they go into like the mansion, and Guts fights Serpico, the whole pillar thing, and then they fight those Kushan soldiers, and all that stuff. The final level was actually kind of reminiscent of the first in a way, and also just like the Golden Age arc, because you're fighting in like a big, you're fighting in sort of like a town or like castle-like battlefield. You had not only your usual team of like Isidro and Farnese and Serpico and Shirik, as well as Casca, but you also had other soldiers as well fighting the Kushan, and you had a bunch of different kinds of types of enemies you would fight. Like I think like these demon people. I think you even fought some crocodile people and the tiger people, and a couple mid bosses, and then you finally get to like Ganishka, I think his name is, who's like the big leader, thunder god thing of the Kushan. And Zod shows up to help a little bit near the end. Like I don't think he shows up in the actual fight or like in the actual level, but it was kind of cool. And one thing that's kind of cool about the NPCs is that, like, assuming that Farnese isn't playable, which I suspect that maybe I imagine she probably is playable. I don't know why they would have it to where she's not playable. I don't remember her doing any fighting. I think she can fight though, because they show her, and this is after she's cut her hair and has become like Casca's caretaker, where she's doing like little to no fighting. They show her with like a rapier and whatnot. I don't know if they gave her some sort of like battle model battle model and put her texture over it or something. But she can seemingly fight. And Isidro, he also has a bit of a thing, and they even give him like his fire dagger thing, the salamanders thing, which I don't know. That makes me wonder, like, is he gonna be playable? Which I feel like if you're gonna do a Berserk Dynasty Warriors game, or really a Dynasty Warriors game in the style, like based off of any sort of anime or big franchise with a bunch of characters, you should probably make as many characters playable as possible, particularly the ones who actually can fight. With Farnese, it kind of makes a little bit of sense just because, yeah, she probably can't really fight. I don't remember her doing much fighting. And the most I remember her is all her freaking like burning thing, where she would like burn things, like her dress and her teddy bear, and burning people because it makes her horny because she's weird. Obviously Casca can't really fight in her state, but she's still there, and that's kind of cool. How like you have like little characters following you around, sort of like a little posse. It's not like open world or anything. It's still like level based. And there's no like main base that you hang out at. In fact, the story mission selection and also free mode mission selection, it's always like whatever location the characters happen to be hanging out at the time. Like there's several ones of Guts just like at a campfire, like in the dark, like during the Black Swordsman one. Of course, during the Golden Age, there's the ones where he's hanging out with like Griffith and like the other members of the Band of the Hawk and whatnot. And near the end, it's like they're in front of the boat. And of course, after the troll thing, it's when they are in some sort of like cabin or something, just kind of hanging out and stuff like that. And so that's really kind of the only, like, I guess, home base thing you can get. It's not like your typical like Dynasty Warriors story mode to where like you can talk to people and whatnot. There are like these little skit events things that they call like talks, and like little events that give you like insight on the other characters. They're like little cutscenes. Like several of them were like memories of Farnese and sort of her thought process. Same with Serpico. And there was one with there were a couple with Casca as well, especially one where they show the whole thing with Griffith, where he had sex with that like gay ruler guy for money, and he's all like, "I did it for the money, so I can take care of things and prevent people from dying and stuff." And also Isidro and Puck doing their whole like training thing and like messing around. But then there were also like little regular like menu talk things, almost like skits and Tales games, but they were incredibly short. Like they were like a little like couple. It's almost like there'd be like setup and like then like a punchline and then like a reaction, or I don't know how best to phrase that, but I almost want to say it's almost like a penny arcade comic to where it's like a 3-panel thing and everything is there. But like it just feels like really kind of concise, and it kind of stops kind of where you would probably expect it to stop, but like due to the way media works, you would expect it to kind of go on a little longer. So that was a little weird. I ended up kind of liking that because it got to a point to where, being a anal person like me, is like, oh, before I do the mission, I have to watch all the little talky stuff, you know, just to get that notification away and make sure that I do everything. But I guess like one thing that would have been nice is that they should have made it a little longer, especially if they wanted to make them a little more impactful. I mean, I guess they didn't want to keep people away from the action too much. But yeah, overall pretty good. The only real complaint I noticed was that there were a couple typos. I don't know if you'll notice any in the footage that I'm recording here, but there were a few typos. That's really the only thing. Mainly just like minor stuff. There weren't like any like letters put together. It's mainly just like a missing letter or something, and I think just like slight poor grammar. But other than that, the script was pretty good. I didn't really notice anything that was like too major. I noticed it just because I'm a writer, and you know, I read. I know how to read, and I'm like, oh hey, that looks different than what I expected it to look. Not even from a standpoint of, oh, I would have phrased that differently. Like, it was more a matter of, oh wait, there's a letter missing there, or there's an apostrophe missing there, or there's an RE missing, or that kind of stuff. I don't think it was that bad enough to where, like, instead of YOU apostrophe RE, they would do YOUR for like the UR. But there were some typos, so keep that in mind. I imagine if you have the PC version, you can maybe mod it to fix those typos. I imagine at that point you could just mod it to like redo the entire script if you wanted. I mean, even do a dub. Is anyone even playing the PC version? Someone let me know in the comments if you're playing the PC version and how it works for you. I imagine it probably runs well and all that. Yeah, you can probably mod it. I saw some people kind of complaining about the graphics, because like at first the graphics looked really nice, and I do kind of agree that like the graphics are a little lesser, because I remember when the first gameplay trailer of the game came out, like the graphics looked really good, like really high quality PS4, and they kind of look a little bit like PS3 graphics at certain points, but it doesn't look terrible. Like I feel like it looks fine, and the face animations are kind of cool. Like characters look really mad. There's one instance where it's during Farnese's thing. There's one where like when she's introduced and Guts is kind of, or like after like she's kidnapped Guts and he's sort of talking to her and she has like this really just angry look on her face, and that was kind of funny. Another good use of the face animations is when like she makes Serpico burn his mother at the stake. It's either that or no, it's when Mosgus, Father Mosgus, whatever, is all like, we're going to go burn these people because they don't believe in God, and they're witches and stuff. They show Serpico looking kind of like ugh, but then they show Farnese and she's smiling. It's slight, but it's definitely there. I think it actually would have been more. It would have been perfect if when it fades to black, it shows her smile getting bigger, almost sort of like freaky, or she starts off with sort of like a shocked face, but then as it fades to back, it fades to black, you can see like her face turning to a smile. That would have been good. I think probably the reason why they didn't do that is because at the point when that event shows up, like you already know that Farnese is kind of weird, and it's after the it's like near the end of the conviction arc anyway, so you've already seen like the scene where Farnese is all like, what the fuck, monsters, oh, I'm getting molested by a horse, you know, that kind of stuff. That actually does happen in the story. It's also happened in the manga and in the anime. They don't show her sitting on Guts' sword with the blade inside her vagina, or like in front of like her vagina, like to where it's like, cut me in two kind of thing, where she's choking him with like some rope. It's like, put your sword in me. Too large to be called a sword, it's just a slab of metal inside me. But yeah, other than the typos, and the typo is really the only one that I would really consider a complaint. I actually kind of like this game. It was good. It served its purpose. The typos is really the only thing that I can think of that it was sort of a negative with this game. I never felt like this game was being like unfair or cheap. Other stuff I feel like they could have worked on is more like just minor like stuff. Like I think they missed an opportunity of not using any sort of Susumu Hirasawa song, be it the 2016 version of Forces, or since they use the movies for anime footage in this, using Aria, or using Hayo, or even using Inferno from the first anime, because I think they came out around the same time. Obviously, for the North American version, we got it a little bit before when the second season was starting, but it was very much a tie-in to the first anime, I think, or maybe just a tie-in to the manga in general. It doesn't really feel like it's connected to the new TV series in any way. Maybe that's kind of what they were going for. Makes me kind of wonder how long in advance Koei was sort of planning this, because they kind of hyped it up a little bit. They kept saying like, oh, it's the most brutal Muso game in history, and it became pretty clear really early on that it was a Berserk game, and then finally at E3 they showed it off, which that was kind of cool. But I enjoyed this game. It was nice getting a new Berserk game and having it come out in English officially, because like I said, we never got the PS2 one. We got the Dreamcast one, which I actually have a copy of now. And then the PS2 version, that got a fan translation, but that never officially came out in English. This game, Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, that came out in English, so yeah, I'm glad that we got a chance to play it, and that we got to enjoy Berserk in a different way and play a nice, cool game. It's single player only, unfortunately, so there's no multiplayer. So unfortunately, you can't play this with your friends. I guess you could take turns, especially in the missions where you can play as more than other characters besides Guts. But oh wait, there are actually a couple of things I forgot. Firstly, the now loading screen with Puck. I am actually glad that they made it to where you can, press buttons and like make him attack the now loading screen. I think that was actually a pretty good call there. At first, I thought you could, and I'm like, oh, that's really crummy. I might have had Dragon Ball Z and like the Budokai games like in mind, since anime tie-in games and whatnot. But I'm glad they actually did allow you to do the now loading thing, as you've probably seen by now. And another thing I wanted to mention, I actually thought of all this stuff while I was recording the footage, so I wrote up like a short list of all the stuff I wanted to mention. But the sub weapons that Guts can use, and I think the other characters can use them as well. I think I remember Judo being able to use the knives, which makes sense, but Guts has the most. He's got like the bombs and the knives, and obviously the arm cannon and the little crossbow arm thingy. Those are pretty useful, and they're kind of cool, and they sort of vary up the gameplay a little bit. And like I've said before, with these like spin-off Warriors games, I feel like this gives Tecmo Koei a chance to sort of experiment with different things. So maybe in a future one like Dynasty Warriors 9 even, we'll get like sub-weapons, which would be kind of cool. I think they might have had some before, maybe. Probably one of the Empire's games, but I don't think they were ever done to this extent where they were literally just like extra weapons you could use that have like limited charges and could be like recharged to like use again. So that's kind of cool. And another thing, like, not to bring a negative into this, but I pre-ordered the game from Amazon, and this game had a pre-order bonus where you get costumes for I think Guts, Griffith, Casca, and I think even Shirk, or Shirke. I still don't know how to pronounce her name. And I know in Japan, like, it depended on where you bought it from. In North America, I think you were supposed to get it no matter where you ordered it from, and honestly, at this point, I don't even remember what specifically it was for North America. It could have just been all of them, or maybe just one. But apparently, people who pre-ordered on Amazon didn't get it at all. Like, there was some sort of issue or something. I think I remember getting an email about it, but I couldn't find it. I don't know if I accidentally deleted it, but or that was my original thought, but then I saw like, people were saying like, oh, I didn't get the pre-order thingy, so that's a bit unfortunate that they had this major mess up, and as far as I know, they haven't rectified it. So I didn't particularly care about the pre-order bonuses. It is a bit crummy that those who got the game from Amazon aren't getting it, especially since I buy stuff from Amazon a lot, particularly new stuff like new games and whatnot. So it's a bit of a shame that people like me who pre-ordered the game through Amazon, because I did pre-order the game, we didn't actually get any sort of like bonus. And from what I've seen, there's no regular DLC on the PSN either. In fact, whenever you do the downloadable content on the main screen, it just takes you to some sort of it tries to take you to the PSN store, but it says like, oh, the content could be loaded at this time, meaning there's nothing there. So that's a shame. And I guess I should probably mention the other modes. I mean, besides story mode, there's also free mode, which is basically the same thing, where it lets you play as whoever you want. I think the main difference between story mode and free mode is that free mode lets you play as literally whoever you want, whereas story mode, you have to play as set people. But after you've beaten it, you can like choose what costumes you want for the characters that they allow you. As you saw, I had to like pick the default for Guts and whatnot. And then there's also the endless Eclipse mode, where you go into like the Eclipse level and you just fight hordes and hordes of enemies. I haven't actually played it myself. I imagine playing through it will let you unlock other characters, and that's probably what I need to do to unlock the other characters, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty good. I'd recommend it if you like Berserk, or if you just want to play like sort of like a different Dynasty Warriors game, like something that doesn't really feel like Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors, but kind of takes aspects of both. Definitely, definitely one of the more different ones, and definitely one to check out if you are a fan of Berserk, or if you're a fan of the Dynasty Warriors games, or if you're just looking for some different kind of Dynasty Warriors game to play, and you don't want to play Dragon Quest Heroes or any of the other spin-offs. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good game. I guess I could rate it maybe like a 8 or 9 out of 10. It was good. I liked it. I don't really do ratings on my channel. I just kind of say like, oh yeah, I liked it. But yeah, I liked it. Like I said, only thing, the typos. That was a bit of an issue, and just the lack of use of any cool theme songs in the opening. Even if it was something original, that would have been fine too. In fact, that probably should have been the way they went. And I really do think having Farnese smile as the scene fades out during the whole burning like event thing, that would have been perfect. They do show her smiling, so it's more along the lines of missed opportunity rather than complaint. So yeah. Other than that, it was pretty good. Alrighty, this is Flamzeron, aka YouTube Sasuke, signing out. See you later.